Fuck, Luis is 33. Oh,
He
Shit,
plays
man.
like in
Retirement
50.
age.
okay.
You know, Luis is living off those 2 or 3 free kicks he scored at Chelsea. That's literally his career. He's got a. I watched him. He's taking free kicks. I haven't seen him score free kicks since like 2013 or something.
I know. I was like,
And he still takes free kicks.
and he's got
And the
like
way,
this.
look, bro, the way he approaches it is like, I'm like, he thinks he's Ronaldo.
He just like
And then he smashes it over the
he
bar.
smashes it with his side foot, right?
The side
His
foot.
side
Yeah,
foot.
Yeah.
yeah. And he
No,
like
but
cuts it.
it's a really cool technique, but
Yeah.
he's just shit. When it was
Doesn't.
working, it was unstoppable.
Yeah,
But
it
he can't do it
doesn't work
anymore.
all the time. He's good at. He's really
Yeah,
good at penalty. He just blasts.
yeah, he's really good at penalties. He did he give away a penalty?
He runs. He runs up to the ball like a fast bowler.
Yeah.
Just hammers it.
No one could have said to put it top bins.
Fuck me.
Sell on Pass. Total football.
Hey guys, we're here to talk about Arsenal today. So it'll be a very long video. So stay tuned. Much like this season. How do you guys think Arsenal have been doing this season? We had a lot of Arsenal related content in the past few months, like the Ozil saga, the transfer saga, and all of that. But then today we're here to talk about how they've been doing in the past few weeks. We all know where they stand. They stand on 15th in the table, and I know we have just come across a rare match where they scored 3 goals and they beat Chelsea, surprised everyone. But yeah, as a Chelsea fan, Adil, how did you feel in that match? I know you were really shocked when you were texting us.
I'll be honest.
As much as
Before
yeah, go for it, Jim.
before we started, I had a feeling. I was like, Arsenal Chelsea. I had a feeling like that'd be a mess up and like it'll be a 2-1 win. So I didn't bring in any FPL like Chelsea players from my FPL or anything like that. I just left it as it is. And then the next day I woke up with 3-1 and Saga had like 15 points or some shit. I was like, yeah, thanks.
Yeah, I got
Yes,
in
Adil, how
panic.
did you feel?
I honestly I had a doubt if Chelsea could win. I just had a slight hunch that either it's a draw or a loss. And like Arsenal, this always happens, right? Whenever Chelsea is in like a good run of form and there's a shit team, that shit team always wins. I don't even know why it's a thing, but it just happens.
Are you calling Arsenal a shit team?
Yeah, are you calling Arsenal?
Current form, I'd say yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I wasn't too surprised, but when I did watch the goals, I don't know if Saka really meant that goal, but it was a lovely goal.
He was acting like he did.
Yeah, he said that he did afterwards as
Yeah.
well.
He saw the goalie off the line, but I don't know.
What do
Go
you
with
think is
that.
going wrong with Arsenal? At least for the past few weeks, what's been going wrong with Arsenal? Is it a defensive issue, or do you think it's just attacking? Do they have too many old players in their squad now?
Well, it's a mentality issue
Yeah.
as well. It's more than like a technical issue. Too many of the players just don't care enough. They're not hungry enough. They don't. I mean, they're not consistent. They don't have that drive. They don't have the mentality to like win. They don't seem upset enough that they're 15. They don't seem angry enough that Spurs is a title contender. There's just not a lot that you can say that it's not like they don't have a. It's not like they have a terrible squad. They have a squad with gaps, but players that are there itself are problematic. Like most of them just are there to like walk in, sit on the bench, or just and collect their paycheck end of the day. They don't seem too like pleased to be playing for Arsenal. And I don't think most of them will leave either because I don't think they can go anywhere where they earn as much or to as big of a club. So unless Arsenal like get relegated or maybe the players who want to play in Europe, I don't think anybody else will leave.
So the question is, will Arsenal get relegated? So as I said, they're on 15. It helps that Sheffield United only has 2 points on the table, and Arsenal
Yeah.
have 17 now. So I don't think it'll get that bad. It's because a lot of things have to happen for them to actually get relegated. Like they have to stay in the same current form. Arteta he has to consistently keep making bad decisions, which as we saw in the Chelsea match, he didn't. Like he did an okay job. And also like players have to be in the same current form for them to get relegated. And I don't think they'll, particularly like young players, like they have like as we saw with Saka and Tierney, they step up when they're called. So yeah, I don't personally think they'll get relegated, but it's a possibility with this season. Who knows?
But what I don't get
I don't.
is,
Yeah.
yeah, with Arsenal, they performed really well. Like all the players performed well last season. If at all, they improved more than losing any key players either. They, I don't know why they bought Billion, but apart from that, they got Partey for defensive duties. Plus, Orba signed the long-term contract. Martinelli is back. So I don't still get why the players who had the hunger last season don't have it anymore this season. And I saw another report with I'm not sure who said it, but he was like, get rid of all the first team players, put the youth players in, and see who's up for it, and build from there. So when I saw Emil Smith Rowe playing for in the cam role, I was actually quite pleased because I saw another report saying he's quite a creative player. I haven't seen any videos or seen him play. So when I saw Smith Rowe, I knew there'd be more creations for the strikers up front for them to possibly score goals. But with Arsenal getting relegated, I highly doubt it. They'll
Yeah, I
eventually
don't
turn
see
up.
Arsenal getting
Turn
relegated
up.
because for the it's not that tight at the bottom. It's not tight enough to suggest that they're in a relegation battle. But and Sheffield is pretty much done and dusted at this point. I mean, you can never say, but looking at it, there's not much pressure on Arsenal that they'll get relegated. I think the pressure is that they need to break into like the top 10, closer to like the top 6, and I think that is what they want to achieve. I don't think they're getting Europe. I don't think they might not even get top 10. The way they're playing, they definitely won't. But we'll have to see whether Arteta gets sacked or whether Arteta there's a major change where he drops a lot of players and brings in the youth. What could happen to Arsenal though is like they could become like a Everton or Spurs, not Spurs so much, but more like Everton. How Everton were like they weren't a terrible club back in the day, and back in the day means maybe 5 to 10 years
5
back.
to 10 years
They
ago,
weren't
yeah.
they weren't like a top 6 club, but they were somewhere in mid table. They'd beat like a top 6 club, top 3 club on their day, but then they wouldn't be consistent enough. That should be Arsenal's worry that they'll turn into a club like that. Then because this season they're playing like they are, so it really depends. And Aubameyang won't last forever, and he's not even playing well this season. So it really depends. Ozil is never going to play for Arsenal again, maybe,
Yeah.
but he's also not getting sold. I mean, it's like who's going to? Well, he's not like he's going to China, so he's not going to get the wages that he's getting paid. Okay, so where's he going to go? Maybe the MLS, but again, would they pay so much? Would he go? So that's another player. Lacazette is uh, again he's turning 30. I mean, he has time as a player, but I don't know if he will perform. It's just like Saka, Tierney, their keeper is Leno, right?
Yeah.
He's decent, but at the same time, he makes a few mistakes. So it's like the youth are stepping up, but they don't have the experience that's needed to like guide them or back them up. So then there's only so much they can do. It seems like a long-term project to get them back into anything.
Yeah.
Like unless they go on like a spending spree.
Yeah, see, like the constant problem in the past few seasons has been like they've tried to break into the top four, tried to get Champions League football again, and they haven't, and that's been a huge blow to their budget. And because of that, their transfer seasons have struggled, and all of that has accumulated, and then eventually they end up buying these 30-year-olds who they've nailed down into contracts, long-term contracts, 2023, right? So that in a way,
Even, how old is Partey? Isn't he like 28? I'm not too
I think
sure.
he's 27, 28 in that mold.
Yeah.
But that was a good signing. He was what he needed, but it seems he's very injury prone, at least this season. Despite like having a few good, like being fit all the time at Atletico.
Yeah, it's funny because he came from Atletico, a predominantly really physical team, and then he goes into Arsenal, a prominently very considerably weak team, and then he like rather than being like the strength they need, he turns into like another Arsenal player that's injury prone. So maybe like their doctors or their physios and all of the issue there or the training as well, because it's very likely, but we won't know.
You can see that Arteta, like, he doesn't trust the team enough to get them to press really high or like that aggressively as he did when he first came on, and you can that's a big drop off, I see, at least this season, where like if he might be in that mentality that like he's scared to see them press that high, and then they'll be open all the time, and get whacked on the counter, which has happened a few times. So I understand why he is scared, but then it's a bit of a high risk, high reward sort of system anyway. So
at this point, he kind of has nothing to lose. So he should ideally let them play with more freedom.
exactly.
But and like figure out what it is that they need, because they're not winning anything this season. Are they in contention for any of the cup games?
Europa League.
Yes, right?
Yes, Europa League.
Europa and
I think FA Cup.
Still? FA Cup as well, right?
Yeah.
Didn't they beat
the FA Cup?
No, didn't Man City? Did Man City beat them 4-1?
No, that was the Carabao Cup, the League Cup. Yeah. So it was like
they're technically in contention, but I don't think they're challenging for the cup. But maybe he could change that and concentrate on winning one of those cups and be like, let's win something, and then just play with them and let them play like Arsenal do, not like some B-Tech Atletico Madrid trying to be defensive.
In the Europa League, Arteta plays a lot of his youth players. Like Nketiah is quite a regular in Europa League, and he scores almost every game. So I don't see why he doesn't play him up front on the Premier League stage either.
He does, right? He played him a lot, at least in like the few matches before Aubameyang got injured. So he did play him. It's just that I don't know.
It's just that in Europa League they're not getting relegated, but in the Premier League they are getting relegated. So I think his mindset switches to, oh my god, we need to defend and hold and slowly press forward, whereas he should just go out all guns blazing, because they are better than teams, and if they play like they believe in themselves, they will easily end up in the top 10, close to the top 6 spot. They should not top 6 but close to it. But with this whole we're not sure, the team is kind of like they don't believe in themselves, they don't really care, they don't do that, they're not, it's just kind of by luck they might end up top 10, but probably they'll end up around the standings that they are now.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully this Chelsea win gives them a bit of a boost, because I think they have decent fixtures after this anyway. So if they can get a sort of run going um, over the next few weeks, I think they can like pull off a, I don't know, a top. I'd say like somewhere in top of 10 to 15. They'll be probably 10th by end of Jan or February, because like there's not
They're
much
playing.
separating those players.
They're
Those
playing Brighton next year.
yeah,
They're playing
tough
Brighton,
team.
so that'll
Tough
be
team.
interesting to see what happens because Lamptey is
Brighton's
injured
quite a
as
good
well.
team. Yeah.
Yeah, Lamptey is injured as well, and the whole Maupe
Mm.
scene with Arsenal last year. So it'd be interesting to see how they respond. Uh, if they win that,
But
then
I think,
it's good for
yeah.
them.
Plus the January window is coming up, and what I really think is Arsenal needs a Bruno effect. They need to
Do you
sign
think
a player
they'll?
who
Do you
brings that.
think they'll sign anyone in January?
I don't think they'll sign
You ask,
anyone.
and
I don't
yeah,
think
I
they'll
don't think
sign.
either. But whoever you ask, any Arsenal fan, they all the only thing they keep repeating is we want Kusam Aouar, and I'm like, are you really sure you need that player to fill in your squad? Is he gonna bring that mentality to change everything up?
I don't know if exactly. I don't know if Husamawa is gonna be like a talisman for Arsenal. They already have a talisman in the form of like Aubameyang. He's just not performing well, and he's getting old. So I think
Mm.
he could potentially drop that creativity role if they do get him, and then feed Aubameyang more chances. And like,
I
oh God, like stop playing him on the left.
yeah,
and
I saw this transfer report about Julian Brandt being eyed for Arsenal, and he's quite a versatile player. He can play CM, cam, or even on the left. So I think more than Kusamawa coming in, I feel like Brandt might be more useful for Arsenal.
he's a tank.
Like,
Like he's a massive. He's certainly a presence on the pitch, and like he's gonna win headers and balls. He's also like surprisingly graceful for a player his size, and like and I do think getting speaking of like a player of that mold, getting Martinelli back was a huge boost for them as well. It's like getting another player
Yeah.
back, like a new player.
It's like it's like bringing in a player.
Yeah,
Literally.
exactly.
Um,
Because he's really good, and I think if he continues to play like this, he's gonna be like a world beater for Arsenal. Um, so hopefully things can only go up from here for them. But the thing is, like, can Arteta keep doing this? Which brings us to the next part. Is like, do you think the manager is the problem here? I mean,
well, I don't. There's this new trend in the football world with everyone hiring their club legends, and honestly, majority of these club legends don't have the experience, even though they've played professional football for the past 10 or 12 years. It doesn't translate
yeah,
to
it
you
doesn't
managing a
translate.
club,
Yeah.
and
Uh,
it just doesn't make sense. Like even with Pirlo, he just got into Juventus B, and next thing you know, he's Juventus manager. Like apart from, yeah, he's lucky he has a squad like that. But if not, what happens then? But Arteta continuing to be manager, I think, like Lampard, he won't have long. I'd say another 2 months at most, 2 3 months. Because obviously you it, football's a business in the end, and you're gonna lose a lot of money if your players or team doesn't perform. And yeah, I think at most he has about 60 to 90 days to
well,
turn
yeah,
things around.
we did see Arteta like spend a few years under Pep, learning under him, coaching, and like coaching that City team, which won 2 titles as well. And we people hoped that he would bring that. He did sort of bring that effect in with him right at the start. It's just that now it's more of a matter of personnel, and I, I I'm not too sure on like what's really going on. So
I feel like Arteta has the potential to be a successful manager. I don't know if he'll be a successful manager at Arsenal,
yeah,
but what I actually think is Arsenal are going to go through a massive change, and slowly. Even though we had in a previous podcast, Shabin didn't feel like they needed to uh, go through such a big change. I feel like it's good. They need to take that time and build their squad up to be title contenders again, because they've been in this awkward spot for a long time where they're too good to be just uh, challenging for Europe, and they're not good enough to be challenging for the title. So they've been in the middle of that. So they just need to develop their squad. And I think playing younger players and bringing a younger squad, I think, would be good. And I think ideally they should give Arteta more time, because they're not gonna be anything anytime soon. So rather than sack him off and just keep changing these managers, Arteta has had good experience with Guardiola at City. He is a good. He's an Arsenal legend. He knows Arsenal values. He's got the respect of the team. He should get the respect of the team. I don't know with the current team, but if you bring in younger players, he will have the respect of them, and he does have the respect of the fans. So it's not easy to get a individual with that kind of uh, love and appreciation that he has. So maybe allow him and the team both to grow and learn from each other and grow into like a better overall finished product, in my opinion. So
Yeah.
even though he's not great now and Arsenal is great now, you need to realize he's managing Arsenal, and that club is it's a mess, in my opinion. It's like Arsene Wenger got kicked out, and then Arsenal just got even worse, because that's how bad the club actually was. It's just that Arsenal was thought to be the problem, but Arsenal was kind of holding them up somewhat.
I
It
think
that's
they definitely took him for granted, where like they didn't
Yeah,
realize it was the quality of Arsene Wenger, or like the effect that he had on the club, his coaching style, his playing style, all of that was what kept them in that top four,
yeah.
constantly competing for that top four position.
And if you look
And
at the players they had, they weren't amazing players, and they weren't consistent players, because half of them got injured all the time. And he made it work.
yeah,
So
it's time where it's also, I can see like in the past 2 or 3 years they've also tried to go chase that Wenger type of football as well. They're like constantly
yeah,
looking for it. So I think the next manager, like Arteta or whoever it is that they bring on, they need to make sure they mold the club. They need to like reclass themselves as that manager's type of football. It doesn't
yeah.
necessarily have to be this Wenger ball sort of.
And maybe it's very unlikely, but they could bring in a manager and make Arteta assistant manager, but it's very, very unlikely,
Yes.
because you can't go from being a manager to assistant manager. But ideally, I would like to see Arteta given more time. Everybody's gonna be like, "Oh, what more time? They're 15 now." But I'm like,
Yeah.
there's potential to build a real good project here. And if not Arteta, who are you really going to bring in that understands that? Like, there's no point bringing in like what Barcelona done. They brought in Coman, and he doesn't really play the proper Barcelona style. There's no point bringing somebody who like tries to force in yet another new style. And I think Chelsea should do the same with Lampard, because they invested a lot of money, and they've given him a chance. And they should know the risk that they're taking when they appoint a player as a manager. So it shouldn't carry the same time frame as a usual manager with the experience. It's kind of like hiring an intern to do a job, okay, and firing him after a year, because after a year he's not at the level of somebody you would hire with like 5 years experience. It doesn't make sense. If you hire somebody like Frank Lampard or somebody like Arteta, you should realize that they are going to take time, and it's going to be maybe 2 years before you see anything. And that's how it is. You can throw money at them all you want, but you're not. It's not like you're putting them in charge of Madrid. And even Zidane, he spent so long with Castilla for Real Madrid, and even after that, he didn't. He's a good man manager, but he's not a great tactician. So it's a learn. But Real Madrid are keeping him because everybody likes him. He has a respect. He knows pretty much Real Madrid way. He's good with players, so there's no point um, essentially kicking him out and bringing somebody who doesn't understand. And you see what happened. They played quite well under Zidane and they won quite a few things. So I think the same should apply to Lampard, especially with the young squad and the way he's playing. Like you won't get a manager who loves the team as much as an ex-player. So it's better to keep them. The exception I would have is with Perlo. I don't know too much like how the situation is, but Perlo won't be properly tested in Serie A as Arteta or Lampard would be in the Premier League, purely because he's managing Juventus. If he was managing any other team, then you'd see him challenged. But Juventus kind of has this. Everyone is afraid of Juventus, blah blah blah. But Inter, Napoli, Milan have kind of broken that a bit. AC Milan, that is. So hopefully, we see him basically get messed up, and then he learns as a manager too.
Yeah,
rather than
and
just
it's not
resting
like
on the fact that
it's
he's
not like
Juventus.
Pirlo's doing that well this season as well, right?
Yeah.
He's losing matches, he's dropping points. So I mean, it's really an argument of like, how long would you give a new manager to impose their style into a group of young players, right? And
But it's not a new manager. It's how much time would you give a ex player
exactly, yeah.
who is a
Well,
legend of the club?
by new I mean
Not
like
just
experience,
inexperience. Yeah.
inexperience, yes. Yeah. So, would you rather have Lampard or Arteta in your club, managing your club? Forget it's
It depends.
Arsenal or Chelsea.
Okay.
Purely based
So,
on like their attributes. Um, who do you think? I mean,
I
I
want
feel like it's
Steven
still.
Gerrard.
Sorry,
I want Steven Gerrard.
you want Steve, but he manages Rangers.
he manages Rangers, but
But
it's a
he's
different
changed
ball game.
Rangers. Yeah.
He has good
Yes, but
football.
he also has a lot less pressure on him.
Hmm.
Do you understand? It's a lot less out of the limelight. Even though it's like a football cult there, it's like he doesn't have like everybody around the world watching him. You don't hear too much about it. I feel like it's different, and I think he made a good choice in going to a small club, like not small, but like a club with less pressure than uh,
Premier League
these
club.
other Premier League, La Liga clubs, so that he can actually fine tune his craft. And Rangers, it's not like he went into. I think Rangers is much better in that league than Chelsea is in this league before Gerrard or whoever.
It's between Celtic and Rangers, right? In the end, in that league, there's no
Yeah,
one else that really contends for the title.
He also joined at a time where Celtic were like on a high,
Fading.
and then they were like starting to drop as well.
Yeah, they were
like,
starting to drop, so
so
it was easier for him to like take over. It was like joining City after Ferguson left United, and it was just between those two.
exactly.
It was something like that. Not to knock the guy or anything, because he's done really well, but it's a little hard to compare the scenarios in my opinion.
Yeah.
So Arteta or Lampard are they? You can go for it since you're one of them actually manageable.
Well, Arteta from last season seems like a different man, to be honest, because I feel like Arteta is a better tactician because he learned from possibly the best manager in the world. Right, he shadowed the guy for three and a
One
half
of the
years.
best.
He didn't manage under Sam Allardyce. What are you talking about?
Big Sam.
I still would be proud.
Yeah. Man,
Well, Big Sam does have 100% record
1-1
with
draw.
England.
But the 1-1 draw
But,
against West Brom. Yeah, Liverpool.
Big Sam.
It's hard to say, to be honest, because I'd say Lampard is more of a Zidane than a Pep. I'd say he's better at man management than an actual tactician. So you're putting me in a really tough spot, to be honest.
Okay, they look at it this way. Timo Werner, if he was scoring all those chances, okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Wouldn't you be like Lampard is amazing? Because those chances would have gotten you wins, he would have been amazing.
But I still don't really complain with Werner because, like you said in the start of the podcast, he's creating,
No, I
he's
understand, but I'm
threatening.
saying
Yeah,
if he had scored those chances and those would have affected your results and you would have won a lot more and you would be probably say it had affected you all and you are playing better. I don't think you'd be that negative of Lampard. I
I'm
think you're a little
still not. I feel
you
like he
won't be
needs more.
sold
I don't know if he need.
experience. He needs
I'm
more
not sold with the
experience.
team, to be honest, because we brought in like what, 6 new players, 7 new players.
Yeah,
So that's like a whole new chemistry that needs to be implemented. And like when I see Havertz playing, he's not confident at all. Like
yeah. He's not like the
I
player we
think,
saw last, but he's not playing the same
yeah,
role
like
either.
even
But
Kante is
if you
being
think,
played out of position.
yeah,
He's
think of
play,
it like this
yeah,
way.
he's play, yeah,
Some people are like, oh, Lampard got like so much money, so much players, he got everything, and Arteta got nothing. But you can also think of it like that Arteta took over a squad that did was doing decent, and then out there 15th, and he got players in. And Lampard took over a squad that's almost completely new, young, inexperienced, and he's still challenging for the title. Y'all are in the title race. He's not like the title top runner, but y'all are in the title race.
I still
So
think like he was kind of his hand was kind of forced. Like I know he gets a lot of credit for playing youngsters and all that, but then you
yeah,
saw last season, like with the transfer ban, he was forced to play those youngsters, right? So
mm,
like I don't know if he should get that much of a credit for that. And
no,
I
I'm not
also think
saying
that the
credit.
quality of
I'm saying that he didn't have. It's like even though he got those young players,
yeah,
it's like that's the squad he had. It wasn't like he got a team of world class players just thrown at him. Like it wasn't like he got Neymar, Suarez, and Messi in his team. That's not what happened. He got a bunch of young players with potential that came from other leagues. Pretty much,
yeah.
it's not even Premier League.
Yeah, I still think the quality of player, like the quality of young player in Chelsea is much better than or has higher ceiling than the
Yeah,
players at
definitely.
Arsenal.
But
but
my point is the squad, like it was new
Yeah.
and Arsenal were like a
Yeah, I know.
decent
They've been
squad. They
playing
weren't like
together.
up there, but they were decent and they were experienced and they got additions.
Yeah.
So you can look at it two ways, is what I'm saying.
but the whole Lampard playing youngsters, the first season that he came in, the squad that Sari had and Lampard had are practically the same. We just lost, I'd say Hazard, I'd say we lost a talisman, but I feel like the whole Lampard playing the juniors and transfer ban really affecting. He's a bit overstated sometimes because we Sari had Alonso playing on the left or Emerson playing on the left, and now when we talk about those two players, we're like they're not up to par. They're not playing at all anymore. So when we talk about the first season with Lampard, I feel like we also undermine the success that Sari had before Lampard came in.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
yeah, the second season, I'm not entirely true about this statement. Does Lampard have a 2 year like a safety net that he can play around with?
I
That
don't
is
know.
And
what
after
You're
I've
a
that,
Chelsea
heard,
fan.
but
Abramovich is actually
I don't
gonna
know.
start.
I don't know, man. You're the Chelsea fan.
I don't know how
I've
true it
heard
is,
that, but I don't know. I don't know how
but
true it is.
yeah,
Yeah. He
like
probably does, but I think he
yeah,
also has a bit more leeway
and
than.
the formations,
Yeah. Sorry.
mm, and the formations that Lampard plays, I'd say are very similar to Sarri. Kante plays on the right, Kovacic plays sometimes bottom of the field. And he keeps switching his players quite often. There's never a set 11 that plays like 3 games in a row or 2 games in a row. But that's also probably because of the fixture condition and no one really finding their feet yet. But when it comes to answering your question, as a Chelsea fan, yeah, I'd like to choose Lampard over Arsenal. Sorry, Arteta.
Okay.
Yeah.
Don't know who you picked.
Honestly, neither. But
Because
um, um, I think I'd
Ole
still
is so good.
because Ollie is so good, isn't he? I think I'd still pick Arteta because I'm more of like a tactician based, kind of football person. I don't know. It's hard to say. It's just that I think Arteta could do a better job with a better set of players, or like a set of players who have been established in the Premier League for a while. Like say this United team, who play decent football. They're just bad defensively, and I think Arsenal's problems are not defensive at the moment. I know they've been like conceding goals, but then the main problem is their attack is not firing at all. And Arteta could do much better with the team which has better established players, or like better players who are like in much better form. So I don't know. I'd pick Arteta over Lampard.
I can't decide
Yeah,
because I like
it's a tough
Lampard
choice.
more.
Yeah.
But Arteta was assistant manager to Guardiola, and that might help us because I'm a Barcelona fan, obviously. But the other thing is, I think Lampard would generate more respect from the players than Arteta would. So there's that. And I like Lampard more. But I still think Arteta could be a better tactician. But again, I'm tired of managers coming in and, not standing up to the board and just playing the players that are they're told to play, and like not really being brave and playing our youngsters and playing like the Barcelona way and playing it safe. And I think Arteta might do that because that's what he's doing with Arsenal, is playing a bit too safe. So honestly, I don't know, but out of hope for Arteta's potential, I would go with Arteta. But if I was a Chelsea fan, I would always choose Lampard. Not because I because it is Chelsea. I think Chelsea, if it was for the Chelsea job between Arteta and Lampard, it should always be Lampard, in my opinion.
Yeah, it also like it primarily depends on the club, doesn't it? This argument, and like
yeah.
When I took the club out of the picture, I was like, it's still a very hard question. Yeah. I think they just need time.
I would. Hot take. I don't know if it's a hot take, but I would prefer Lampard or Arteta over Polo any day.
I think so. Yeah. I still think like most of these managers just need time. So like in 5 years, you come back to this question and see how like we would differ in our answers.
Yeah, I think Moyes should have been given more time.
At United.
Yeah, why not?
Oh yeah. We'll be relegated by now. I'm kidding. No,
Look what he's doing this time.
He had a really bad transfer season.
He had a bad hand.
He inherited a squad.
Quick question: with West Ham, did Moyes buy Soucek, Jared Bowen, and all the players that are performing right now?
I think he did buy Jared Bowen. I'm not too sure about Soucek.
Okay.
He probably did. Who was there before him? I don't remember.
Because, or was it Pellegrini? Because
I was Pellegrini.
Pellegrini made a few signings. Yeah, Fabianski coming in and all that. Those are all good signings.
Yeah. I think it
in
was.
My honest opinion. In my honest opinion, I think how David Moyes performed at United was more a reflection of how bad United were than how bad he was as a manager. But saying that, I feel like how bad he performed at Real Betis or Sociedad or where he went was a reflection of how bad David Moyes was rather than the club. Yeah, I think they were match made in heaven, and I don't know. I'm a little sad over that.
It's hard to say again. Like
because
a manager's success depends on like so many factors, and like you can't really judge a manager over like one season of football. And it's especially like a season like this where like we were going through like a really tough time. The whole world is going through a really tough time. So I think
let's not forget that David Moyes signed Marouane Fellaini as well. Let's not forget.
Yeah, exactly. Like that whole season was. I mean, I'm not saying Fellaini was a bad signing. He was like a really good aerial threat. got clutch goals in some games.
Okay, if you're not gonna say it, I'm gonna say it. He was really bad signing.
Yeah, I mean, for that season, for him to be the only signing, that was like very poor from United. But then,
What happened with Fellaini is, I mean, since this is the last bit because it's a Arsenal podcast, but what happened with Fellaini was they brought him in and he was destined to fail. So what they did was they set up the team in a way that only he would perform somewhat well. Like at one point he was playing strike
yeah,
and he was the main goal threat, and I'm like,
yeah. Oh, that was a bit of a banter here.
But that transfer window didn't also matter as well.
Yeah, an aging Mara from Chelsea who was clearly not gonna be in that squad anymore. I mean, sure, that was a good signing at the time.
I mean, he's still one of your better players.
Exactly. It's just that Mata was really good under Ben Hall. At least I think so. He just did not perform that well under Mu, and he was benched and he was sidelined for a while. So like he wasted most of his last few years, his twilight years. He just got wasted. Now he's really good. He's still great creatively, but you can see that he's just off the pace and good for cup matches, I guess, and motivating the team. Great presence in the dressing room. Yeah. Shall we wrap it up?
Shall we call it? Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
So that's our Arsenal take, guys.
Oh, one more thing.
Yeah.
One more thing. Do you think Saka should leave or stay in the season?
He just signed a new contract, right? So I don't think he'll leave. And
say
he'll get relegated. So
say a club comes calling. Who shall we say?
Barcelona.
No, I don't want him.
My problem with Saka is that he's a versatile player, and I don't think clubs really know where he would play right now. So like, as a club like Barca would be like, okay, we need a new right back. Do we go for Saka? But then you see him playing at centre mid the other day, and then you're like, where does he play?
Saka plays at right back.
He plays at
he can play there.
Right or left?
One of the two. He plays on the fullback spot.
I'm pretty sure it's left back because he's a left
but
footer.
He is very versatile. He's played in both sides.
I mean, if I played for Arsenal, I'd be versatile too.
Yeah, I know, exactly. I still think like I don't know what club would look at Saka and be like, okay, we need this player for this spot. Whereas like at Arsenal, I think he can continue to develop as like
maybe
sort of player.
like what Adil said, like Dortmund would be an interesting shout.
I'd say a German team would be really good for him.
Okay, but I still think like for him, Arsenal might be.
But he should stay.
Arsenal will be a step up from Dortmund. I mean, he can if he continues to be like that versatile sort of player. He can turn into like a James Milner sort of. No, I'm not saying like for him. It could be down. Because he's obviously an Arsenal boy. So
and he has number 7 as well. So that's cool.
Yeah, I mean he's firmly established into that team, and I think he's gonna be
he's like the Jude Bellingham of Arsenal.
Bellingham.
Bellingham. Same. That's like.
Okay. Yeah. They should definitely get rid of a few 30-year-olds, and I don't know how they're gonna do it because they have contracts till 2023 or more. So good luck to that.
I'd say terminating the contracts to do them more good than keeping them.
I can't wait for January because they're going to be linked with fucking million again.
What's happening with Saliba? Any idea?
Didn't he play on? Oh no, that wasn't him. Was it? He got kicked out of the Europa League squad, didn't he? So
why?
I don't know. Because
I thought he was playing well.
Gabriel is playing. He hasn't played a single game.
Yeah. So I think
Who's the other centre back?
The Brazilian, what's his name?
Pablo Mari.
Yeah, Pablo Mari.
He
So
played.
Mari
He
and
played
Gabriel
well.
are great.
He played well in the Chelsea match. So he's a decent side. I think Saliba, they'll probably wait for the window, and then because you can
I think they're
re-update
trying to
your
loan
squad,
him
right?
out again.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I don't think.
I think they're trying to loan him out is what I heard last. And Saliba has been quite vocal on Instagram, commenting on Guendouzi's posts, saying supporting my brother who's because even Guendouzi wasn't playing for a while, right?
Yeah.
They after the whole issue with Mope and all of that.
Yeah. Well,
Uh,
Guendouzi had a lot of.
I think Guendouzi, from what I feel, Guendouzi talks way too much for like a player of his ability, and so that's those are one. That's one of they Arsenal have too many players like that, just not
I
humble or hardworking enough.
Mm-mm. Good luck to Arsenal. I think that
Yeah.
should be the end of this podcast.
Yeah, they'll need it.
Thanks for tuning in. If you've been here all this time, and thanks for listening. We've got a few more videos coming up. Don't forget to like, share videos. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, follow
James.
Yeah,
Everything.
we're on
Personal
Twitter, we're on Instagram, we're on Spotify. So take a listen if you have a listen if you want to. Listen to James's nice voice.
It sounds so depressing.
It's the end of the year. It's yeah. So also
acting like it's the end of your life. I mean, we just finished an Arsenal pod, so yeah.
we did just finish an Arsenal podcast.
Yeah.
Like this, I'm emulating the Arsenal fans' behavior right now. Well,
good evening.
Yeah, good evening.
Wenger out, blood. This should be disgraceful. Adera out, blood. What's that guy's name? I can't remember his name, but it's just a bunch of 40-year-olds, 50-year-olds.
All right. Happy New Year.
Yeah. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.
Like, share, and subscribe.
Happy New Year.
Peace.
I'm out.
Bye-bye.